What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to the 483rd edition of TSR Live. It is Monday, July 8th, 2019. It is Interracial Relationship Week here at TSR Towers. This week's episodes will deal with many issues, not limited to, but certainly including interracial relationships, mainly between black men and white women. I'll also talk about the fantasy of black women dating and marrying white women being, of course, a fantasy and not the norm. I'm going to talk about black families and the reason why the black family is going extinct. I'm going to talk about the black community. I'm going to talk about shaming tactics that black women like to use to shame and scare black men out of dating white girls and so on and so forth. So I'm going to deal with a myriad of topics. I've got more than a few ideas already in the kitty. I'm going to try to cram them all in a week. So what I just mentioned, I'm going to be talking about much more than that. So buckle up, gentlemen. It's going to be a hell of a week. As usual, I am streaming live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So however you are watching, wherever you're watching from, thank you for making the Sharpe Reality Live a part of your daily routine. Well, let's go ahead and get right to it here. As a black man living in the United States, it took me a little while to sort of come to grips with the reality that my race, my skin tone, it changes a lot of different things when pursuing women. Now, I say this all the time. There's nothing unique or special about me. But it would be disingenuous of me not to acknowledge that my skin tone does have advantages and disadvantages within the sexual marketplace. Now, having been raised in a military family, race didn't really seem to play much of a role in anything on base. People and families were judged strictly on the credentials and the ranks, which were posted near the doors, or posted on the doors, or near the doors of the family living quarters just below the family name. Those of you who also grew up on military bases, you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, because of this, I was just about as oblivious to the racial issues of the outside world as one could be. But all of that changed when I became a civilian at the age of 16 due to my folks splitting up for the second and last time. Now, when I first took the red pill and started talking to women on the regular, I had that same naive mentality. I never once asked myself, is my race a factor with girls? Sure, I knew there were some differences, but not enough really to make me think that I had to make any radical changes. So what did I do? I just dove in head first and let the chips fall where they may. Now, even though I did have some success, that success was very minimal. And as a result, I experienced a lot of rejection. But as soon as I became aware, as soon as I became cognizant of the racial components of game and pickup, I tweaked my approach accordingly. And as a result, my conquests with women, the second sex, improved drastically. But a funny thing happened on my way to the often fantasized and fabled playa status that most men aspire to accomplish. I stopped gaming black women. It wasn't a conscious choice, nor was it something I just woke up and decided to do. It was just a natural progression in my overall red pill progression. What I found was that the better I became at sleeping with pretty girls, the less attractive black women became. Now, it's an open secret, gentlemen, that black women are at the very bottom of the sexual totem pole in terms of sexual market value. This is hard for them to accept and acknowledge, but this is how it is. The hard truth, guys, is that black women are almost nobody's type. Yes, there are exceptions, but the exceptions do not make the rule. The better I got with sleeping with high-quality women, the less attention I paid to sisters. And eventually, black women became all but invisible to me. Now, something else I figured out rather quickly was that black women positively hated the fact that I was dating white girls and other non-black women. They didn't tell me personally, but believe me when I tell you that their body language and the looks of fury they shot in my direction, that was evidence enough. Now, I've never really been one to care about what people thought about who I was dating or sleeping with at the time, least of all black women. But after regularly getting dirty looks from black girls when I strolled by with a pretty white girl, the light bulb finally went off and something finally just dawned on me. Black women are upset because they can't date outside of their race like we can. Now, they can pretend to deny it, but they know it's true. Just because Kerry Washington's character on Scandal was sleeping with the highest value male, the president of the United States, on a television show, that doesn't mean white guys are lining up around the block to marry, date, or even sleep with black women. Just because Prince Harry made the egregious mistake of marrying a post-wall former party girl who was in a sorority, dated a porn star, and all that nonsense, doesn't mean that princes around the world are looking to wife up sisters. Now, on the other hand, black men, unfortunately, seem to think the same thing. That is, most of us, most black men, believe that we cannot date outside of our race as much as we would like to, which is the reason I've decided to do this particular episode and this week. What brothers need to understand, that as black men, we have more options than black women, period. Yes, a lot of black men understand this, but the hard truth is that most of us don't, right? Most of us are unaware of the fact that there are greener pastures out there for us in terms of dating, sleeping with on the regular, and even marriage to non-black women. So today, guys, I'm going to talk about what to expect when approaching white girls, what to expect from white girls once you start dating them, and finally, I will talk about a few of the not-so-great things that are said and done once you start commingling with nobody. So let's go ahead and get right to it. The first thing I'm going to start off with is I'm going to talk about the binary mentality of American women. There are many races of women in the United States, but even though there are many races, there are two pervasive mentalities that these women adopt in terms of the way they act: the white female mentality and the black female mentality. Now, some people might ask, well, Donovan, what about Hispanic and Asian girls? Regardless of race, nationality, or ethnicity, the vast majority of women raised in America, okay, have Caucasian female sensibilities or African American female sensibilities. What I mean by this, guys, is that women who were born and raised in the U.S., they're exposed to many different cultures in terms of the way that females act and what they experienced. They're exposed to Hispanic culture. They're exposed to a little bit of Asian culture. They're exposed to Indian culture and so on and so forth. But by and large, most women born in this country either act like most white women or most black women. But because black women are one of the minorities, most women act white. Now, there are a certain number of women who act black, right? They listen to hip-hop music. They watch black programming on television. They listen to black podcasts, have mostly black friends, and date mostly black men, etc., etc. There are also many women who act white. These women are the majority. These are the women who watch and worship the Kardashians, right? They love Starbucks, they watch reality TV, they date mostly white guys, etc. Yes, there are Hispanic women who have Hispanic culture deeply ingrained in them, along with other races and nationalities of women. But these are the exceptions. These are women who have lived in the United States for a while, but weren't born here. They may have come to the States as maybe a small child or a teenager. At that point, they will either adopt white or black girl culture on some level, but they'll still have remnants of their home country habits. So, for example, most girls of Asian descent who are born and raised here in America have white girl sensibilities. Same with Hispanic and Indian girls. Now, again, there are exceptions to the rules, but those exceptions are extremely rare. How weird would it be to see an Indian girl act in ghetto? How weird would it be to see her how weird would it be seeing an Indian girl with her hat turned backwards, sporting some Jordans, blasting Juicy J out of her Honda Accord? That would look weird, wouldn't it? Now, on the other side of that coin, most black females have African American habits and sensibilities, like I said before. Yes, there are a few black women who look and act white, but again, those are the gross exceptions. Think Stacey Dash's character on the movie Clueless. The bottom line here, guys, is that regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of skin tone, most women you come across will either have Caucasian sensibilities and habits or African American sensibilities and habits. And the majority of those women will act, talk, and do the same things that white girls do in their everyday lives. So now let's discuss what to expect when approaching white girls as a black man. So now that we know what we're dealing with, let's talk about the expectations. when approaching white women and or non-black women with white female sensibilities, like I talked about just now. It is absolutely paramount. And pardon my voice, guys. I'm a little hoarse. I'm going to do as best I can. I'm not going to be able to talk with as much fire as I normally do, but it is absolutely paramount to understand that these women react differently when approached by black men rather. That is, they don't respond the same way to us as when they're approached by white guys and other races of men. Now, over the years, I have noticed some pretty stark differences in the reactions of white girls when I'd run game on them, as opposed to my white friends stepping up and running game on white girls. There are all kinds of studies out here that sort of back up my observations, but seeing is believing. And all of these are going to be based on my personal experiences, running game on and subsequently sleeping with white females. Here's the qualifier. This pertains to gaming white women and non-black women who have white female sensibilities. On that note, here is what to expect when hitting on white girls as a black man. Number one, white girls rarely make us prove our masculinity. Most white men in America are charged with the task of proving their sexual fitness to women in this country, in America. Now, black men, we don't generally have this problem. And the reason for this is that because there is an unspoken sentiment in the States that black men are natural alphas. Now, black professional athletes, hip-hop culture, and the ghettos, that makes a strong argument for this assumption, but the truth is no one really knows for sure. The advantage to this assumed alphaness is that white girls will test black men as a function of confirmation as opposed to qualification, if they even test us at all. Every so often, they will poke and prod here and there just to make sure that you live up to the perceived reputation. But by and large, white women and non-black women, they tend to give black men the benefit of the doubt as far as masculinity is concerned. Now, the drawback to this particular assumption is that if you do fail a masculinity test, which is commonly known as in the manosphere as a shit test, you are beyond finished. When the entire culture tells the majority of women in this country that black men have natural alpha tendencies, they expect it from the jump. If they don't see it, or if they sense even trace amounts of simp in you, their vaginas dry up quicker than a desert in the middle of a drought. Understand this, gents. Nothing is more unattractive than a black man who is a simp. Most times I failed even a single masculinity test, fitness test, whatever you want to call it. I have rarely been given a second chance to redeem myself with non-black women who have white girl sensibilities. Even if my game was rock solid to that point, they check out the minute I make a misstep, guys. So even though we have an advantage from the beginning, the margin for error is razor thin, almost non-existent. I speak from personal experience in this regard. The second thing that you should expect when approaching white girls as a black man is white girls expect us to try to sleep with them on the first date. Assuming that we're natural alphas, what this does is this sets a lot of expectations with white girls. They expect us to be upfront and straightforward. And yes, ARC, Alan Roger Curry, I'm not going to plagiarize that. Upfront and straightforward is all you, ARC. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry, veteran of the game. Hashtag mode 1. Anyway, they expect us to be upfront and straightforward, and they are ready for us to be bold and forthright when we run game on them. This means they expect us to escalate quickly. Gentlemen, they expect us to quickly escalate the interaction toward sex almost immediately. The advantage to this is that it takes a huge amount of pressure off of us. You see, guys, knowing that a white girl expects us to make a strong play to get them draws, that means if they give up the digits, they are likely ready to give up the booty. The disadvantage here is that approaching them during the day can be very difficult. Listen, man, it's hard enough to work past the slut shields of a hot white girl as it is, but it is nearly impossible to strike up a conversation with a good-looking white girl to gain trust and to build attraction. Now, granted, most men have to do this anyway, as hot girls correctly assume that the reason most men talk to them is because they want to sleep with them. But when they're approached by a brother, they are damn near 100% certain of what we're after. And if they're not down to sleep with you, they're not receptive to game at all. The end result is a lot of rejection, which again is part of the game. Can't win them all, fellas. Nobody bats 1,000. On the other hand, the advantage to this is that it saves a lot of time. When I was approaching white girls day or night, they make it very clear whether or not they're interested, and they rarely waste time voicing their desires. If they're feeling my game, they start to reciprocate. I get the digits, the rest is history. If they are not, they shut me down right on the spot more times than not. Time is a man's most valuable commodity. So the fact that white girls and non-black women expect us to push for sex early and often saves us a lot of time and frustration in the long run more often than not. The third thing you should expect when dating white girls as a black man with a game is that black men, we as black men, we are rarely thought of as long-term relationships by young and attractive white girls. When the typical American white girl or non-black woman fantasizes about her perfect boyfriend or her married life, she is usually not thinking about being with a black man, right? Listen, whether we like it, admit it or not, white men are at the top of the sexual food chain. This doesn't mean that white men are any more valuable or less valuable than black men. This doesn't mean I think that black men are. No, this is the sexual marketplace. And at the end of the day, all things being equal, white men are preferred by most women. Black men, we're probably in second place. Maybe I'm a little biased in that regard. White guys are at the top of the sexual food chain. I think that black men are a very close second and closing that gap very, very quickly. Anyway, women of all races with white girl sensibilities, they prefer white guys, again, assuming all things are equal. Now, let me qualify that last statement. If a black man is better looking, if he has a better job, he's in better shape, and has a better handle on women than the typical white guy, most women, regardless of race, are going to gravitate toward the black guy because he's simply the better option, skin tone notwithstanding. But if you have a white male and a black male who both have great looks, a good handle on women, great jobs, they're both in great shape, white girls are going to choose the white guy probably better than 8 to 9 times out of 10. Call it unfair, disagree, call me whatever you want. Guys, this is how it is. We've come a long way in America as far as the overall acceptance of interracial dating between black men and white women. But it still does carry a measure of taboo, however covert it may be. Couple that with the hive-minded mentality that most American females have, meaning that they all want the same thing, right? And they think all the same way. And you will find that most young, attractive white girls you approach, they're not going to be dreaming about your wedding. They're not going to be thinking about your honeymoon. They're not going to be thinking of life as Mrs. Sharpe, right? Outside of wealthy black men, it is very, very rare that young, attractive, white, and non-black women think of us brothers as long-term relationship options. The perceived notion that black men don't earn as much as white men, and the social stigma, guys, those are both major deterrents to white girls as far as marriage or settling down is concerned. However, white girls in this country, gentlemen, are positively mystified by the lure of the sexual prowess of the black man. All white girls, regardless of age, they are dying to know why women say, once you go black, you don't go back. Now, the obvious benefit here is that it leads to a lot of easy white girl lays, especially in today's feminist culture that encourages women to sleep around. No, guys, no, gentlemen, not all black men are porn stars between the sheets. We don't all have 19-inch packages that can make women squirt upon penetration every single time. Women who have experience with more than black men, they know this. However, for those non-black women who have never come over to the dark side, they can't help themselves. They have to know. So as soon as the opportunity presents itself, any white woman who's even a little bit curious almost involuntarily drops her panties when a black man strikes up conversation with her, if she's opening to broaden her horizons. Now, the disadvantage to this is that unless you're looking for a long-term commitment, there's no real downside to not being thought of as husbands or long-term boyfriends by white girls and non-black women. These chicks are some of the easiest targets out there if you're looking to bang as many Caucasian females as you possibly can. So now that we know what to expect when you approach white women and non-black women, let's talk about what to expect when you engage in relationships on different levels with them. We're going to do that here in just a second. I'm going to shill and pay the bills. Guys, Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. My channel does not grow without you guys sharing my videos. So text your friends, slide into their DMs, blast this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Get the word out. Remember, guys, likes and shares are absolutely free. Make sure you sign up for my newsletter to stay in the know on all things Donovan Sharpe. And if you have a show idea, see a video, a blog post, or something on social media, hit me. TSR@DonovanSharpe.com. That is TSR as in The Sharpe Reality at DonovanSharpe.com. Or you can hit me on the contact tab on my website, DonovanSharpe.com/contact. If you want even more of my content, sign up for my Patreon. This afternoon, I'm releasing episode 7 entitled A Red Pill Perspective on the Existence of God. Roosh V was actually just here in Philadelphia. I attended his talk. Roosh is now on the path. He is following God. And so that's interesting that he was actually here in Philly doing his talk on God. He's an Orthodox Christian now. And episode 7 sort of explores the existence of God from a red pill perspective. So you guys definitely want to check that out. Also, as a patron, you'll get access to my live evening show, TSR Primetime, which is Monday through Thursday evenings at 6:30 Eastern exclusively on Patreon. TSR Primetime is not user-friendly, guys. But the content, it's every bit as top-notch as the content I make available here to the public. All it takes is less than 17 cents a day, guys. So go to patreon.com/Donovan Sharpe to get access to more of my videos, pictures, audio podcasts, and much, much more. So let's talk about what to expect from white girls when you start dating them. At the height of the civil rights movement back in 1960s, black women were absolute ride or die bitches. They stood by their black husbands who were shot, beaten, stabbed, jailed, and endured just about every inhumane, prejudiced treatment imaginable. Now, black men were appreciative of their women for sticking by them through tough times and rewarded them with reciprocating that undying loyalty. But second wave feminism was also in full swing and winning the hearts and minds of both men and women countrywide. Unfortunately, black women fell prey to this influence and thus started the decline of the American black woman. Fast forward over 6 decades, and black women are insufferable at best and absolutely radioactive to black men at worst. As a result, brothers have started checking out in droves, and an increasing number of black men are giving up on pursuing black women. Their numbers grow by the day. Guys, it wasn't always like this. By the time second wave feminism hit its stride, and began to influence the sisters, black men were still under the impression that their women, black women, would still ride or die for them through thick and thin. But by the time the 80s ended and the 90s began, we started waking up to the harsh reality that our women were starting to become a lot more trouble than they were worth. Now, in 2019, with the help of social media and, of course, the internet at large, black men, we are up on games in terms of the true nature, the true licentiousness, and the overall toxicity of black women, and we have started abandoning these women and want nothing to do with them relationship-wise. But some brothers out here are largely ignorant as to what's next. They know they don't want to be with black women anymore, but they're not exactly sure why they should pursue white women and non-black women. Having had plenty of experience with white girls and non-black women, I've got a few reasons that'll push you in the right direction. Once you lock one of these broads down, you will quickly see that you've made the right decision. The first thing you could expect from a non-black woman, expect great treatment. Okay, listen, guys, if you are ravaging her in the bedroom, you're pulling her hair, you're smacking her ass, you're calling her names, and you're manhandling her, okay, as long as you're demanding her best, voicing your expectations up front, and holding her to her commitment to meet your expectations, guys, I'm telling you, white girls will move heaven and earth to make your life better. Besides giving you the booty anytime, anywhere you damn well please, they'll also put their domestic skills front and center to keep you around to show their appreciation for you. Now, before I made my woman my main chick, and yes, you guys all know Devin is a white girl, she treated me like a god every time we saw each other. She cooked for me. She made sure my place was clean. She waited on me hand and foot. She never hesitated to give me toe-curling blowjobs on command. Needless to say, she continues that behavior to this day. Another Mexican girl I dated, she also has white girl tendencies. I was dating in Vegas. She cleaned my apartment every time she came over. Now, her cooking skills did leave a lot to be desired. She wasn't terrible, and she always made an effort to prepare a good meal for me. She knew how to lock me down by being a doting, dutiful woman, because deep down, she and every other race of woman knows this is what men of value want. Now, in my younger days, I was slaying black girls left and right. Dude, honestly, of all the black girls I had messed with, I can't remember any of them cooking, cleaning, or even offering to pick up the tab when we were out. In their minds, giving me the booty was really all that was needed to keep me around. This is the unfortunate mindset of the typical black female in America. White girls, on the other hand, clearly understand that giving up the booty is only the beginning, and that's just what gets them in the door. White girls are keenly aware that a man of value, we can get sex just about any time we want. So what do? They do other things to keep us around, which means stepping up their game in other areas to increase their value to us outside of sex. By the same token, they know they have to please us in bed, which leads me to the second thing you should expect from white girls and non-black women, and that is sexual openness. Now, black women who watch things like this are always quick to point out that they love to give BJs. But the conventional wisdom out here states that sisters just don't give head. That didn't just come from nowhere. Stereotypes, as they say, exist for a reason. The HBO show Insecure. I know we all know about Insecure. Dude, this is Devin's favorite show. Loves Insecure. That confirmed this particular stereotype with a conversation between Issa and all of her. It was Issa, Molly, the fat black girl, and Tiffany, the wannabe white girl, right? They're all talking about how degrading it was to suck a man's dick. The one friend who endorsed going downtown on the man on the regular happened to be the one who is engaged to be married. Go figure. That stereotype was further validated during a scene later on when Issa decided to go down on her boy toy Daniel, who blew his load in her face. Gentlemen, Issa lost her mind and steamed out of his apartment. She blamed him for busting a nut as a result of her going down on him. In my experience and many other black men I've talked to, woman for woman, white girls suck dick at a much higher rate than black women. I'm not sure what the exact numbers are, but I can tell you that the gap is wide. Sure, I've gotten blowjobs from black chicks in the past, but every single solitary white girl I have ever stuck my junk in has never hesitated to suck my dick. I cannot say the same of black women. White girls are also by far the most open sexually. Swallowing, anal sex, public sex, anything you can think of, guys, white chicks are down for whatever. Believe me when I tell you that anything and everything is on the table with white girls and non-black women, because they want to do whatever it takes to make you happy, even if they don't particularly like it, especially as it happens when it comes to sex. The next thing you can expect when dating white girls and non-black women, expect a generally good attitude rather than a bitchy one. Now, to be fair, it is very easy for women who get attention from any and every man the minute they step out their doors every morning. It is also very easy for white girls to stay positive when they live the lives of privilege they live. Yes, guys, white women live the best lives of any class of human on the planet. I get it. That said, the problems that black women face in this day and age, I'm here to tell you, it is no longer the problem of black men. And if we can sleep with, date, and even marry white women who don't have an attitude problem when they wake up in the morning, then why wouldn't we? When white girls belong to a man who knows what he wants, a man who can handle her, a man who takes control, they fall in line. White girls relax and they adopt a very kind disposition, because they know they are owned by a man they can trust. They know that they are with a man who is in control without resenting him for being exactly what she wants and needs him to be. Black women, on the other hand, have an involuntary reflex that tells them to push back when a man shows any kind of backbone, because Oprah, Tyler Perry, and a Jan Van Zant tells them that it is their birthright to be the head of household, and they don't belong to no fucking man. Black men would do very well to leave that headache alone and get with girls who actually acknowledge that they want a man who acts like a man and rewards them with her loyalty and deference for said behavior. Here's another thing you can expect from white girls, and this is the big one. The last two that I'm going to point out, you're not going to get this from black women. Expect white girls to be, the S word, submissive to you. White girls are submissive, but so are black women, or at least they can be. The problem is that black women view submissiveness in the presence of a male as a weakness. The truth is, gentlemen, is that every female has the natural desire to submit to a man. It is in their feminine makeup to surrender to a man and to submit to him. White girls, when they are properly trained and groomed, are naturally submissive to their men, and it is easy for them because they're simply giving in to the impulses they already have to begin with. Now, before women and simps out here start bitching and complaining, let's be clear about what the true definition of submission is within the context of a sexual relationship between a man and a woman. What submission is not is a woman walking around the house with her head down, doing her chores with a black eye, while fearfully avoiding the conversations with her man for fear of his temper. That definition, gentlemen, is an apex fallacy designed to give black women carte blanche to be exactly the opposite. Yes, there are relationships out here that resemble a slave-master dynamic. But in this day and age, women have the power not only to leave those relationships, but completely bury the man if they so choose to. That said, the true definition of submissive is that of a woman who simply puts the needs of her man before her own. If he wants sex, she lets him have sex and doesn't make excuses about headaches or not being in the mood. If her man is hungry, she feeds him. If he needs some space to relax, she falls back and returns when he asks her to. Regardless of what he needs, a truly submissive woman is there for him no matter what. In her mind, his needs come before hers every single time. I guarantee you, sisters are watching this right now and laughing. They're laughing. And that, gentlemen, is one of the many fundamental differences between them and white girls and other non-black women. They can yuck it up all they want. They can laugh and, oh, girl, can you believe this? But this is one of the main reasons that black women don't want to mess with them like that anymore. Laugh and chuckle all you want, sisters. The joke's on you. The last and final thing that you can expect from white girls and non-black women when you decide to date them is true femininity. No matter her skin tone, a feminine woman is an attractive woman. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know that black women are as masculine as many races of men. This deficiency can be laid at the feet of their culture, their upbringing, and their environment. But guess what? That doesn't take away from the fact that women who act like this are unattractive to men. Non-black women are far more feminine than black chicks, and guys, it ain't even close. The funny thing is that the more masculinity you show in the presence of a white girl, the more femininity they show. If you verbally reprimand her for some reason, they soften up and they heed your command. If you let her know that you two are staying in for the night rather than going on a double date with her coworker and her boyfriend, she'll say, yes, sir, and be done with it. Black females, gentlemen, are the polar opposite. The more see, here's how this works. The more masculinity you show in the presence of a black woman, the more masculine she becomes. Short of hauling off and decking the shit out of her, she's going to get louder. Her nostrils are gonna flare, and her voice will get deeper if you show any semblance of masculine dominance or backbone. Dudes ain't turned on by this, sisters, and that is all there is to it. The difference between white women and black women, it's not about race at all. Okay? It's not about men being conditioned to like white girls because of television, movies, and commercials. Oh no. It's about the fact that white girls act like women and black females act like men. There's nothing psychological about it. Regardless of a woman's skin tone, men want to be with feminine, submissive women who are kind and easy to be around. And woman for woman, white girls exhibit these characteristics at a much higher rate than black women, and everybody knows this, including black women. Let's talk about the not so great things that black men should expect when dating white girls. There are many advantages to dating white girls, but guess what? There are a few drawbacks. The myth that black men only date white women who are fat, unattractive, or both is patently false. Yes, there are plenty of brothers out there who date bottom of the barrel white girls, bottom shelf Beckys, but these are either low value black men, or they're men who don't believe that they can attract beautiful non-black women. People who perpetuate this myth, they use internet memes and false rhetoric as research to prove their point. Guys, nothing could be further from the truth, and proof of that is all around us every day. I have never dated a fat or unattractive white woman in my life. Even when I was a low-value beta male, and a lot of black men out here would co-sign on this if they're being honest. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what black men should expect when we start dating attractive white girls, the not so great things you should expect. Number one, hate from black women. This is the first and most immediate effect. When black women see you strolling around hand in hand with your pretty blonde girlfriend, they are not going to like it, and they are not going to hide their disgust. Be ready for the dirty glances in your direction. Be ready for snide comments just audible enough for the two of you to hear. Expect your black female cashiers, your black female waitresses, other occupations in the service industry, expect them to treat you poorly. They'll give you the silent treatment at the register. They'll take forever to bring your meals and do their level best to inconvenience you in any way they can. Does this happen all the time? Of course not. But it happens enough to get my attention. And if you're a black man who has an attractive white girlfriend, be prepared for this, because it's coming. It's coming. You can count on that. Number two, expect judgment from your female family members. Gentlemen, brothers, be prepared for your mothers, your sisters, and your aunts to call your choice in women into question. Sometimes they'll be overt and tell you that you're wrong for dating white women, but most of the time they'll ask loaded questions designed to make you look bad, regardless of your answers. You haven't found a good black woman? Maybe you're dating the wrong women. What kind of women have you dated in the past? Those are just a few of the barrage of questions they'll ask you in an attempt to sort of backdoor sneak tip shame you into jumping back onto the sinking ship, otherwise known as the undateable black woman. The solution here is to either change the subject or just tell them that you don't want to talk about it. Gentlemen, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything you do, least of all your female family members. Here's what you can also expect when you start dating attractive white women. Expect hate from other black men. Interestingly enough, the most hate I get for dating white girls comes from other black men. Who knew? I get called all kinds of names, guys. I get called race traitor, coon, Uncle Tom, all the tired ass sophomoric names that N-words have used for decades to signal their envy of you. Take a look at the comment section of any Brother Pill podcast. I was the host of the Brother Pill podcast season 2. And you'll see that most of the name calling from other brothers with regards to my choice in dating blonde-haired hotties came from men. I've even had a couple of them call in to give me a piece of their collective minds. Area code 413 comes to mind. Just let it roll off your shoulders, guys. It used to bother me, but I learned a long time ago that when you catch heat from other black men for dating white girls, it's because they wish themselves that they could date white girls. And the sad truth is that they could. They can. Right? But they allow their own community into shaming them from expanding their horizons, and they hate the black men like myself who've had the strength to break free and do whatever the hell I want. Here's something else to expect when you start dating pretty white girls: hate from white guys. The hate you get from white men, it's going to be much more covert, but far more dangerous. They're not going to be as vocal as black men or black women, but depending on the situation, they could do a lot more damage than just name calling or dirty looks. If a white cop pulls you over and you've got a pretty white girl in the passenger seat or vice versa, be ready for anything, guys. I've been there. Listen, keep your wits about you. Keep your cool, follow the law, know your rights, and do not escalate verbally. All it takes, gentlemen, all it takes is getting pulled over by a white cop whose wife cheated on him with a black guy, or whose daughter is dating a black guy, or any other situation that you can think of, and he's looking for any reason at all to fuck up your day. I'm telling you, I've experienced this before. If you work with or for white guys, be ready for the same thing. Well, they'll be cool with you until they see your white girlfriend or white wife at the company picnic. This isn't to say that things will automatically change for the worse, but you need to be cognizant of these possibilities. White guys are not going to like the fact that you are dating their women, especially if she happens to be an exquisite specimen. Here's one of the positive aspects that you can expect when you start dating white girls. You start getting attention from other white girls. This is Red Pill Game 101, and the concept here is what we like to call pre-selection. You'd be surprised, gentlemen, at the number of white women who have never considered dating a black guy all of a sudden change their minds when they see one of their friends with one. One of their friends. Guys, I have dated countless white girls who have told me I was the first black guy they ever dated. Were they telling the truth? I don't know. Most of the time, probably not. But when attractive white women see other attractive white women with black men, it piques their curiosity, and eventually they succumb to it and they come over to the dark side. Remember, gentlemen, women don't want to date men that other women don't want. So when a white girl sees that you are pre-selected by other pretty white girls, be ready to start getting more sexual attention from other pretty white girls. There are a few other things that you will need to be aware of, like your black friends asking you for advice on how to attract white girls when and if they ever get past the hate and envy. The benefits of their vagina pass. White men may inconvenience you when they see you with a white girl. Okay? But white women and sometimes black men in the service industry, like waiters, waitresses, bouncers, will definitely treat you better. Right? White women will treat you better and black men will treat you better if they're not hating. Guys, listen, I've zoomed to the front of countless lines at a nightclub or strip club and have been given preferential treatment when my white girlfriends or F-buddies bat their eyelashes or pull back their blonde hair. Hey, listen, this happens. This is how it goes. Just understand that when you start dating white girls, the way people will treat you, the way some people treat you, it's going to change. Some may treat you better. Some may treat you worse. Some may not change at all. But if you expect your life to be exactly the same when you start messing with these fair-skinned blondes, brunettes, or redheads, think again, guys. You need to be ready. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow when Interracial Relationship Week continues.